your party is 20 points down in the polls, and you've lost one of the safest Liberal seats in the city you've represented largely due to voters' concerns around the cost of living and their finances. Can you explain why you should stay on as finance minister?
Chrystia Freeland is probably wishing she didn't have to attend any more press conferences. She was recently absolutely embarrassed in front of Canadian Olympians by reporters when she had to answer for her disastrous, fiscally responsible results.
Let's take a look.
Laura Stone, Globe and Mail, Deputy Prime Minister. I wanted to ask you, it's our understanding that you hosted some Toronto MPs at your home last night. Can you outline for us how that came about, what they wanted to talk to you about, and how you addressed their concerns about the fallout from the St. Paul's by-election?
So I would say that's not entirely accurate. John McKay is the chair of the 416 caucus, and he chaired an in-person meeting of some 416 caucus members. I offered my backyard because it's in a central location. So we did have a meeting, John chaired it. I think it was a really, really valuable opportunity for us to talk with each other, to talk about the results of the by-election, to talk about what they mean, to talk about hearing what Canadians are telling us, and to talk about working really, really hard to do a better job of delivering for Canadians on the things that they need, on housing, on affordability, on economic growth, and doing it all in a fiscally responsible way so that interest rates can continue to come down.
You know, I'll tell you, I wondered if this was just a Trudeau thing, but it's not. It is so painfully obvious that this delivering for Canadians, working harder to deliver for Canadians, is the narrative that they've crafted to deal with the Toronto St. Paul's by-election. And it is just, it's so terrible.
It's ridiculous.
It's bad.
Like, how is that an excuse for losing the by-election?
And they're saying, well, you know, we got a message, and the message was, we need to work harder to deliver. What does that even mean?
The message you guys should have gotten was that Liberal voters, traditional Liberal voters, are not voting Liberal because of Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
That's the message. That's what they have literally been saying to reporters asking them on the street.
Yeah, and you can see, you can see that in the results as well. So for them just to say, well, you know, we just have to work harder, implementing the same programs that we've been trying to sell for the last few years that have pushed us down 20 points in the polls because we've done such a terrible job at it, but we just need to work harder. Like, do you actually think that the voters, when they hear that, they're like, oh, well, that resolves my concerns?
Well, I think the Liberals think they know best. I think they know what Canadians want. What Canadians really want is to be able to afford a home, to be able to afford groceries. Canadians want to be able to, you know, have a little bit of money left over at the end of the paycheck, maybe to buy something fun. Canadians don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck anymore. Canadians don't want to be working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet.
And they don't want to be financially shackled. They want financial freedom to be able to spend their money on what they want to spend it on, instead of having to be forcibly contributing to these terrible programs like Safe Supply, like dental care for people that already have dental plans, for contraceptives for people, for just like all of these silly programs.
We want our criminals to stay in jail. Jail, not bail, right? Like, it's just simple stuff. But again, the Liberals are ignoring all that. You guys don't know what you're talking about. We know what you guys need.
But, you know, let them have at it, because all this is going to do is infuriate people even more and push them even further away.
Excuse me, and can you address the calls for change that are coming from some prominent Liberals who say, you know, following that by-election, there something significant needs to happen. The leader needs to change, some sort of policy development needs to happen. There needs to be a symbol that the party is listening to the results, and there has to be a reaction to that. Do you think that that your government needs to make a significant change here?
The Prime Minister has my full support. I know he has the full support of Cabinet, and I know he has the full support of the vast, vast majority of Liberal MPs. The people of Toronto St. Paul's did send us a message, and it is absolutely incumbent on us to hear that message. That message was, things are hard. Life is really challenging right now.
Is she serious?
Are you joking?
That's disgusting the way she said that. Like, you guys have created these conditions. Life was not this hard under Harper. You guys are always bashing Harper about how he did this and he did that. And no, my life was good under Harper, and I know most of the people we talk to on this channel can say the exact same thing.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but you know, we're on the upswing of coming out of one of the worst financial crises, you know, of the last 50 years. So we were doing pretty okay, you know, coming out of the housing crisis or the real estate crisis in 2008. So yeah, we were doing pretty good. Crime was way down. Housing costs were half as much. Poverty was starting to come down. So, like, and now you're saying, oh, well, you know,
Things are hard.
Things are hard.
Of course things are hard. You have made them that way. Of course Canadians are upset because you are the one to blame for this mess.
And they're too stubborn and too egotistical.
Arrogant.
Yeah. To actually admit, you know what, these policies were a bad idea. We need to back them up. Nope. Double down and force people into poverty even more. All 10 million of them.
And you, our government, need to do a better job delivering for us on the things that matter in our lives. You need to do a better job making life easier for us. And I think we are collectively absolutely committed to doing that. We are committed to delivering on housing, getting more homes built faster in Toronto, in Milton, across the country. We are committed to delivering on making life more affordable for Canadians. We're talking today about making life more affordable for our brilliant Olympian athletes, but we also need to make life more affordable for families with kids, with things like early learning and childcare. We need to make life more affordable by delivering dental care, by delivering pharmacare. We need to do that. We need to make life better for Canadians by delivering economic growth, by investing in jobs and growth. And we need to do it all in a fiscally responsible way so that interest rates can come down, because we recognize that interest rates have started to come down. That is really good news. But high interest rates are still a real burden on people across the country. So yeah, Canadians, people in Toronto St. Paul's, they sent us a message. They said, work harder, deliver for us. Things are hard for us. We expect you to work hard and deliver results and make things easier. And that's what we are totally committed to doing.
It's such hubris, because when you lose an election, the message isn't, we believe in you, so please work harder. The message is, we're done. We don't believe in you anymore.
Right. Canadians typically vote out a government. They don't necessarily vote in a government. They will vote out the current government and kind of choose the new one in its place. Historically, we get to a certain point and we get rid of stale government. I mean, the same thing happened to Harper. He was in office for, 9 years.
Yep.
Yeah. So it gets to a certain point that Canadians are like, okay, we're done. Who's next?
Yeah, 9 years. You make them enough mistakes over that 9 years that they start to pile up, and Canadians just want change.
But I don't think even Harper did like a bad enough job that the Liberals are doing. You know what I mean? Like, the Liberals have just screwed up everything. They inherited a balanced budget from the Harper government. And look, they've been running deficits year after year after year. Trudeau has single-handedly, in the span of his government, doubled the deficit of this country.
Yeah. He has spent more money and put us into more debt than every other prime minister combined since the history of Confederation.
Like, that's over 150 years of debt, and Trudeau doubled it in 9 years.
And he is also the proud recipient of the achievement of having more than half of all scandals recorded in Canadian history. So
yeah, if you check out the Wikipedia page, like, more than half, I would say, are Trudeau.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? They just keep piling up. Look at the video we posted yesterday about the defense minister, or the former defense minister.
Yeah, and it's more and more and more. So, no one's buying this. You know, that's the message, Freeland. The message is, we don't like Trudeau, we don't like you, we don't like the Liberals. It's time for a change of the guard.
Your party is 20 points down in the polls, and you've lost one of the safest Liberal seats in the city you've represented, largely due to voters' concerns around the cost of living and their finances. Can you explain why you should stay on as finance minister?
Why should you remain as finance minister?
It's the question all Canadians want to know. I mean, she doesn't have any qualifications. She's doing a horrible job.
Yeah, the on-the-job experience hasn't served her well at all.
No, like, finance minister, minister of defense, and environment minister, I think, are arguably the three most important portfolios in the government. Possibly also health minister. But, like, why would you hand that portfolio, the finance minister, to somebody who has no finance background?
Because it's 2015.
I understand one of the priorities for you was to have a cabinet that was gender balanced. Why was that so important to you?
Because it's 2015.
It makes no sense. Again, Liberals operate based on feelings. Oh, well, I feel it's important to have a woman as finance minister. Maybe is the logic. I don't even know. I can't fathom what the logic would be. I feel she would do a good job despite having no prior experience. Instead of saying, okay, who in my cabinet maybe has run a company before? Who in my cabinet maybe used to work for Bank of Canada or another one of the big five banks? Like, who has financial experience? No, we're going to hand it to Freeland. Like, it makes no sense.
Well, and it's no wonder that the budget is in the state that it's in. Like,
and it's going to take generations to fix this. You know, I think that's the part that upsets me the most. I look at her son and I'm like, you're going to be paying for this mess the rest of your life. And if he has children, the rest of their lives too. Like, it's a disaster what Freeland has done to this country and who has done to that portfolio.
Yeah, there's no words to describe this. And this is what happens when you put people into a job that they're not qualified for.
Well, that's a choice for the Prime Minister, of course. But what I will say is there was definitely a clear message from the voters of Toronto, St. Paul's. And I think it's really important for our government to hear that message and to act on that message. And that message was, things are hard. Life is hard. You, as the government, need to act and deliver to make life easier for us. We hear that, and we know that we have to work harder, and we have to deliver and show results for Canadians. We have to deliver on housing. We have to deliver on making life more affordable. We have to deliver on economic growth and jobs. And we have to continue to do all of that in a fiscally responsible way that allows interest rates to continue to come down. So that's what we're committed to doing.
Guess what's not going to happen in the short term? Interest rates are not going to continue to come down.
We believe, anyways, that it was artificially dropped just so that the Liberals could say that, oh, look at the interest rates are coming down.
Yeah.
We don't think it's going to drop any further anytime soon. And we also are concerned that 0.25% drop in interest rates could also create more inflation in the long run.
Yeah, because because what happens is when interest rates drop, people take out more loans. And when you take out a loan, you don't borrow money from the bank. The bank prints money in order to give that to you. And that printed money goes into the system, devalues the currency, increases inflation. This is why when the government runs deficit after deficit after deficit, that contributes to inflation, because that deficit is not being borrowed from the Bank of Canada. They send basically an email to the Bank of Canada and they say, we need another $60 billion, Bob. And Bob says, sure. Hey, John, print $60 billion for the
Fire up the
government of Canada.
printers. Yeah.
And then,
Sheesh.
ta-da! So that's inflation in a nutshell at the government level. So this is the concern.
I also want to point out that I just think it's interesting that when people say to the Liberals, life is hard, we expect you to do something about that. Their solution is more government.
And more money.
More taxes, more programs, more. When you tell the Conservatives, life is hard, we want the government to do something, they will cut back on programs, which will result in more money in your pocket because you're not paying for those programs as the taxpayer.
Yeah, because they'll end up cutting taxes as a result.
Right. And you end up with enough money to be able to finance those programs yourself.